President Biden spoke in Milwaukee, and the big kind of notable part of it that a bunch of people were seeing and discussing was the fact that he called out Marjorie Taylor Greene, and the bizarre moment during a recent speech where she is trying to insult President Biden, and in so doing compares him to LBJ and FDR, and he's trying to invest in all these popular social programs. But then I was looking at the rest of the speech, and there's more interesting parts from it. So we'll go through chronologically, then get to the Marjorie Taylor Greene moment. Here's the first one. Again, Biden in Milwaukee touting the success of Bidenomics.
When the middle works and the bottom has a shot up, the wealthy do very well. I'm a capitalist. If you make $1 billion, go make it. I mean it. Just pay a little more taxes than you're paying right now. 8% doesn't quite get it. When the middle works and...
Right. I grabbed that because two reasons. The first being it's hilarious that people call Biden a socialist and a Marxist and a communist in the right wing. He even there is explicitly saying, I'm a capitalist. You want to be a billionaire, you want to make billions of dollars, go make it. But just pay more in taxes, which is profoundly, aggressively reasonable, and should be the case. Right now we have a situation where the top richest people in this country pay an effective tax rate in the single digits. Absurd. The second reason is we got to stop people in their tracks when they go forward with this nonsense talking point of both sides, both parties are just consumed with extremism and led by extremists. No, there is one side disproportionately in positions of power dealing with that problem. Now, out in the world, 100%, there are annoying and extreme people on social media who identify all across the political spectrum and are very loud and get a lot of attention because of social media algorithms. But how do we know that it's something beyond that? How do we know that it matters and is representative of a broader prominent ideology or something that is in positions that matter? Well, positions of power is a really good way to know that. Is this something that's representative of a larger issue, or at least a larger reality? And if you look to positions of power, you see that in the Republican Party, they're electing the extremists in so many different cases, whether it be Marjorie Greene, Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz, Louis Gohmert, and obviously Donald Trump being the likely nominee of the party for president. And so there is a real problem with extremism. They really are sprinting to the far right. In the Democratic Party, we're not seeing that. Biden was the most moderate candidate on that 2020 presidential Democratic primary stage. And he was the one selected by the Democratic voters. He's less progressive than me. He's so moderate. And he was selected by the Democratic voters. And he is the leader of the party right now. And you see in so many other positions within the Democratic Party, that is also the case. And so the solution is not, let's run Joe Manchin to solve our problem with polarization. He can be right in the middle because both parties are sprinting in opposite directions. No, the country, you're hearing a lot of extremism on both sides, sure. But one of those sets of extremists is actually making it to positions of power right now, and that is in the Republican Party. And so the solution actually is, if you want a middle of the road candidate, that's Joe Biden. Then there are people to the left of Joe Biden, and Biden just happens to be in the Democratic Party. So just because there's two parties doesn't mean you have to split the difference between the two and say, I'm going to pick someone who's in between Trump and Biden. So in between fascistically motivated and middle of the road sort of progressive, you know, with his policies. It's absurd. Next clip.
Because we're investing in America. According to Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs, my plan is leading to a boom, they call it a boom in manufacturing. And manufacturing investment, as you're seeing right here in this factory. Over 13.4 million new jobs. 150,000 new jobs in the state of Wisconsin.
And then he continues forward with more economic metrics. Absolutely a pretty impressive record on job growth. Absolutely. And it's not all Biden. A lot of that would have happened anyways. But some of the legislative successes that Biden has overseen and the Democratic Party has overseen over the last few years has contributed significantly to the massive economic recovery we've seen again in recent years. Then he takes a shot at Ron Johnson.
Know who believes that? your significant senator, Ron Johnson. He believes outsourcing manufacturing jobs is a great thing. He's on record as saying he doesn't agree with American work. This is what he said. American workers should manufacture, he doesn't think they should manufacture products that require a lot of labor. Here's what he said, quote, "Let the billions of people around the world do that," end of quote. You wonder why the hell we got ourselves in trouble. Well, we've been letting them do that for too damn long. It's time to build American products in America.
I heard Farron Cousins make the point, and it was very apt, that Biden, he really does have a good platform to run on and message. And if you take on paper his message, it's really good, pro-working class, based on a record that is far from everything we could dream of, but very significant, especially within the context of when he was president, post the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic. And all of that could build a really strong campaign. The downside is his delivery of that message is often leaves some room for improvement, for sure. And you could imagine someone else or him earlier on in his career taking all the on paper successes and message that he's landed on and doing so much more with it if he could deliver it more effectively. And then now we get to the Marjorie Greene moment. Before watching his statement during this speech, a reminder, this was the ad that the Biden campaign put together, only using the words of Marjorie Taylor Greene at this Turning Point USA speech. She's trying to insult President Biden, but instead says this.
Joe Biden had the largest public investment in social infrastructure and environmental programs that is actually finishing what FDR started, that LBJ expanded on, and Joe Biden is attempting to complete. Programs to address education, medical care, urban problems, rural poverty, transportation, Medicare, Medicaid, labor unions. And he still is working on it.
And as we talked about when we covered that ad, Biden just says, "I approve this message," on Twitter. Exactly. Who knows why on earth she thought that was an insult, but she did. And Biden made a joke about that during this Milwaukee speech.
This legislation they oppose or attack is now the greatest thing to come to their states. You know, you have Marjorie Taylor Greene, you know, the very quiet lady from North Carolina, from Georgia.
Using the same joke he used with Lauren Boebert, but we'll let it pass.
Well, she talked about what Biden's doing is what Roosevelt did, what Kennedy did. I thought, well, yeah.
And of course, LBJ was the second person. But someone asked me, because I covered that campaign ad, and they hadn't seen my coverage of the original remarks that Marjorie Greene delivered, and asked, was that real? Did she actually sound that way, or did they kind of put together a bunch of out of context moments to make it sound like she's complimenting Biden? We watched the full minute plus segment from that speech at the Turning Point USA event, and it just sounds like she's, other than throwing in that they didn't include in this ad and these are socialist policies and stuff like that, it was just a list of all these fantastic things Biden has pushed for in a tone of voice that was outraged. He's investing in infrastructure, Medicaid. Why are you saying it like that? Continuing on the legacy of LBJ and FDR, which both are seen, especially in these social programs they implemented, very positively by Americans at large. So I don't know what she was going at there. I think she's just really out of touch, and she thinks, can you imagine investing in people? And thinks other people feel that way. And I love that Biden's bringing that up because it's hilarious. Marjorie Taylor Greene, as you guys might know, not the brightest bulb in the... Is there a second half of that statement? In the bulb cabinet? In the bulb store? Not the brightest bulb in the socket. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are able to be uploaded to the YouTube channel, plus get the bonus show on the weekends, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership, and there's a link in the description.